In 1943, if you were an Allied soldier staring down the barrel of a German Tiger tank, you weren't thinking about economics, you were thinking about dying. The Tiger was a masterpiece. It was over-engineered, terrifying, and practically invincible from the front. On paper, Germany had the better product. If the war was a 1v1 duel, the Third Reich wins, every single time. But wars aren't duels, they're supply chains. And while Hitler was obsessed with building the perfect weapon, a group of suit-and-tie executives in Detroit were building something much scarier, the infinite machine. Today, we're looking at the day the American factory became more dangerous than the German Panzer, because there is a specific moment, a single realization by German intelligence, where they knew the war was over, not because of a bomb, but because of a stopwatch. The Germans viewed a tank like a Swiss watch. It was handcrafted by artisans. If a part broke on a Panther tank, you often couldn't just grab a spare from another Panther. It had to be machined to fit. Therefore, the German army was a collection of masterpieces. But masterpieces don't scale. Enter the B-24 Liberator. This wasn't just a plane. It was a 4-engine, 30,000-pound flying fortress. At the start of the war, it took weeks to build one. Then the automobile kings took over. They didn't see a plane. They saw a Ford sedan with wings. Therefore, they applied the assembly line. By 1944, the Willow Run plant was coughing out a brand new B-24 every 63 minutes. But speed is only half the story. The real secret weapon was something much more boring: standardization.
Schmidt is looking at a spy photo of Michigan. He's looking at a building half a mile long. He's got a report on his desk that says the Americans are producing more planes in 1 month than Germany produces in a year. Therefore, Germany doubled down on quality, hoping one supertank could kill 10 average tanks. But America wasn't sending 10. They were sending 1,000.
So we've established the global loop. How did America win? Not through better tech, but through better repetition. We're halfway through the war, and the arsenal of democracy is in full swing. But that leaves us with a much bigger problem. If you're producing a plane every hour, how do you get it across an ocean infested with U-boats? This is where the logistics of winning becomes more dangerous than the logistics.
Germany's obsession with the best was their terminal illness. The Tiger tank had overlapping road wheels. In the Russian winter, mud would get between them and freeze. The tank would be immobilized. To fix the inner wheel, you had to remove 5 outer wheels. Time to repair? Hours. Result? Abandoned masterpieces in the snow. America accepted good enough. The Sherman tank was outgunned, sure, but you could fix it with a wrench and a prayer in 20 minutes. It was the iPhone of tanks, replaceable, standardized, and everywhere. Therefore, the U.S. could sustain a high-friction environment. But there was one final boss.
We often think of the war ending with a flag over the Reichstag, but the math says it ended long before that, in the accounting offices of Detroit and the shipyards of California. The secret that won the war wasn't a singular physics breakthrough like the atomic bomb. The secret was the industrialization of the miracle. In Germany, the tank was a handcrafted sword for a warrior. In America, the tank was a consumable. It's a cold, almost corporate way to look at human conflict, but it's the reason the world looks the way it does today. Germany spent the war trying to build the perfect weapon to win the battle. America spent the war building the perfect system so that the battle no longer mattered. Because in a war of attrition, the most dangerous place on Earth.
Imagine you're a U-boat commander in the mid-Atlantic. You've just spent 3 days stalking a convoy. You fire your torpedoes. You sink 2 massive cargo ships. You celebrate. You've done your job for the fatherland. You go home for a month of leave. By the time you get back to your submarine, American shipyards haven't just replaced those 2 ships. They've built 50 more. Therefore, the U-boat war wasn't about sinking ships anymore. It was about trying to drain the ocean with a thimble. But to do this, America had to break every rule of shipbuilding.
Before 1941, you built a ship like a house. You laid the keel, and you built up from there, piece by piece, rivet by rivet. It took months. Therefore, they stopped using rivets. Riveting takes skill. It takes time. Instead, they welded them. But welding was fast. too fast. If a crack started in the welded ship, it didn't stop at the seam. It traveled through the whole hull. Some of these ships literally snapped in half in the cold water of the North air. Therefore, they had to innovate on the fly, adding arrestor straps to stop the cracks. They were troubleshooting a global...
To give you an idea of the macro rhythm here, at the start of the war, a Liberty ship took 230 days to build. A year later, the average was 42 days. Then, Kaiser decided to show off. They laid the keel of the SS Robert E. Peary. Day 1, the bottom is laid. Day 2, the engines are dropped in. Day 3, the deck is welded shut. Day 4, the paint is still wet as it slides into the water. Total time, 4 days, 15 hours, and 29 minutes. Think about that. In the time it took a German U-boat to find its target, the target's successor was already being christened with a bottle of champagne. We look back at World War II as a series of heroic speeches and tactical genius, and it was. But the global loop we started with, how did the lesser weapons win, has a haunting answer. America won because they turned war into a commodity. They accepted that their planes would be shot down, their tanks would be blown up, and their ships would be sunk. They didn't try to make them invincible, they just made them inevitable. The singular truth: the German Tiger tank was a work of art, but art belongs in a museum. The American factory